Chris? Okay,
Ladies
cool.
and gentlemen, it is an honor and a privilege to speak with this man again. We go way, way back to the early 1990s at ESPN Radio and followed his career and been living through his health issues. And I know you're still going through a lot of rehab and stuff, Morton. I appreciate you coming on tonight. And I got to tell you, man, I see you on TV and you're looking great, man. Thanks for coming on, Morton.
Listen, it's like a great pleasure to hear from you and come on with you, Tony, like old times. And just the fact that I'm able to actually come on is a better privilege.
Absolutely.
No. Even as I sit strapped to this weird vest and head and neck thing and chest, I'm really happy to be talking to you.
Well, I am too, Morton. And as you know, it's a long time back in the day, every Saturday and Sunday nights on ESPN Radio back in the beginning of the days. And so for people who don't know, if you'd like to talk about it, you are, still doing a rehab thing. And you were telling Robin, our producer here, and she's my everything, not just my producer, about what you have to go through every day now to just stay healthy.
Rehab, let's clarify, it's not alcohol or drug rehab. Let's clarify that these days. No, this is just, look, this next stage of my cancer journey, because what I had went to my lungs, and then plus all the radiation and stuff you have, it kind of messed up my lymphatic system, so it doesn't drain properly. So every night, and sometimes in the morning, I get into this machine, this chest and head and neck thing, and it pumps my system for about 45 minutes, and then I can sleep and swallow and sometimes talk better.
Beautiful. And then you get stories about the Raiders and go on, and then you figure out, how am I going to sleep now after going through all of the stuff I'm going through just to have a productive life and a healthy life? Then I got to deal with Antonio Brown now a couple of days before the season starts.
Well, and a fun life. I mean, it's like, thank you for the diversion. But I'm like, everybody, this is like everybody is in this story. But what reporter in this country isn't in this story? And that's why, like on Twitter, I keep going next, and the next thing I know, there's like trying to check on the reaction of the YouTube video that Antonio Brown dropped a little while ago, and I found out that John Gruden wasn't upset, that he was actually amused, and I actually think this is awesome. I think my source is pretty reliable on this.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking, because, we've been following this, obviously, as everybody else has, and then it's just been such a seesaw the other day from, first with the foot frozen in France, and then coming back, and then a helmet thing, and then everything seemed okay, comes back, works out, but then he misses a practice, he gets fined, he gets a letter from Mike Mayock, which obviously the general manager has a right to send to the guy to tell him what's going on and why he had to be fined as pursuant to his contract, and then he posts it, and then we find out, yes, of course, he's going to be suspended. I know Adam Schefter, your colleague at ESPN, was saying, yeah, it looks like he's going to be suspended, and then all of a sudden he meets with Mike Mayock, and that gets ugly, and then it's going to be, he's going to be suspended even more, and then his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, calls him right and tells him, hey, man, you got to stop this stuff. You're going to cost yourself $30 million. I want you to pick it up from there more, because I think that's probably what happened, right? After the Mayock thing and it became public of what he said to the general manager, who's still his boss, and then did his agent not have to get involved and tell him to do the apology and calm down if you want to keep playing and have a career?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny how Drew seems to get these kind of clients once in a while. Rosenhaus I'm talking about. I thought it was interesting that he happened to be available for the Clean It Up tour on Monday, or Thursday night. And at the same time, listen, the dynamics there with the Raiders, we can figure out some of it. So Mike Mayock is the general manager in title. There's no question he's the general manager, and Mike's a football guy, and I have no doubt that this nonsense is driving him crazy. And we've seen him when he walked out the one day on video and said, "Hey, the guy's not here," and basically suggested he's sending him a letter. And I think what they're doing is obvious. They're documenting all these issues in case they want to go back. They haven't paid him any money yet. Let's get the guaranteed money out of there. In the meantime, we also know who's in charge of the Raiders. It's John Gruden.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
John Gruden works for who when he had the job with the Raiders?
He worked for the old Mark Davis.
And you worked for Al Davis with his first go around, right?
Exactly, yes.
What was Al's model? Just win, baby.
Just win, baby, and we got to go vertical.
I wonder whether that's what we're watching unfold here with Mayock obviously being upset and documenting everything, which you have to do, by the collective bargaining agreement if you're going to eventually, try to have somebody forfeit their guaranteed money or anything else, is you document everything. And that feels like they're documenting it. But on the other hand, I think Gruden's saying, "Hey, we got to play football. We got to win a football game, and this guy's a pretty good football player." And we'll see what the rest of the night brings and the ball brings. But I know something's coming. I just don't know what.
We're talking with Chris Mortensen, the great ESPN NFL analyst from way back in the day, and again, it seems to change by the hour because earlier today it seemed like, well, John Gruden said he's going to play. So then we're thinking, all right, well, Mike Mayock doesn't have any power anymore. The coach overruled the general manager who was going to presumably suspend him for at least one game on Monday Night Football. Then the coach comes out and says, no, he's here and he's going to play. And then the video drops, and then you report accurately with your sources that John Gruden was okay with that video where Antonio Bryant basically questions the coach and then plays the victim again. So what's going to happen? Is there any way he could play on Monday night? Not just in the court of public opinion, but as far as putting this whole thing and making sense of it, because the fans just want to watch games, they want to bet on games, they want to play fantasy. But where does this thing go next? Is he going to play or not play? What do you do if you're the Raiders organization?
When I go to bed tonight, unless something happens between us talking and an hour and a half from now, I'm assuming he's going to play Monday night, and then we'll see what the morning brings. In the afternoon, Ed Warder had reported tonight too that he had been fined again by Mayock, and so there's a part of me that says this video did not blindside John Gruden. Based off what I could gather, that there's a story behind this video that we don't know yet, or I don't know yet. And I'm assuming the next chapter will be the next chapter whenever that falls. But something tells me that Gruden's in on this one.
Yeah, it's bizarre. We've seen a lot of bizarre things. You and I go back, and obviously you've covered football for a long time. And we remember the Al Davis overhead projector Lane Kiffin news conference.
Yeah, and I was a professional liar, but I got the story right 5 minutes after we fired him. That was one of the great things. Even though I must say, even though Al and I had rough times, I mean, I tried to tell people, look, he's done a lot more for pro football than I ever had.
No, Al Davis was a legend, and I got a chance to work out there with the Raiders for a couple of years doing their pregame show with Bill Romanowski and the gang, and so everybody knows about Al Davis's history. But the thing is, you've seen a lot of crazy diva receivers, and there's no doubt it's the most diva position in any sports, wide receiver. Did you ever think, despite the problems that we saw come up in Pittsburgh with Antonio Brown, that it would ever get to this point with this guy?
I guess I should have. I almost feel kind of stupid for not seeing it come. I mean, listen, when he went live, Facebook Live, right? Mm-hmm. With post game celebration and Mike Tomlin in the locker room, and they're getting ready to play the Patriots the next week, and Tomlin is being Mike Tomlin, the coach, and he's basically saying, let's go kick those a-holes or whatever he calls them, and it's being put out over Facebook Live. I mean, if he was doing that, then we shouldn't be surprised by anything. And the Raiders knew when they were getting him that they were getting some of this. Let's face it. I mean, so I do believe that John, having been under Al Davis, kind of the message there was, hey, just play football, just win. And this is a heck of a football player. Are you willing to put up with all the nonsense? The dynamics of Mike Mayock as general manager and John Gruden as coach, and really team president, as far as I'm concerned. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Just looking at this from a distance, is Mike Mayock going to be the fall guy here? I mean, he's the general manager, Morton. You know him. I know him. He's a guy here from the Philly area. Everybody loves and respects his knowledge. Doesn't he look like just a puppet now? I mean, is he going to be able to survive this and say, hey, you know what? This isn't what I signed up for, to be the general manager of the Raiders?
Well, listen, if Mike came out tomorrow or next day and said that, it wouldn't surprise me. I have no knowledge of that, but yeah, the Mike Mayock that you and I know, he's a serious football guy. And I'm not saying John Gruden isn't a serious football guy. They just may have different perspectives on how these things go down. I mean, Gruden's coached some crazy players in his life. I mean, his Super Bowl team in Tampa Bay has some interesting characters, right?
Yeah.
And so, different perspectives. And Mike, what you said, like, I didn't sign up for this, that sounds like something Mike could very well say one day. But, Mike's also probably getting paid pretty good money by the Raiders. And so you don't just up and quit without negotiating a buyout. But I don't even know. That's you and me just talking out loud as friends.
Now, what is his buyout now? Do you know what Mike Mayock's buyout is if he decides to quit as the general manager of the Raiders, Morton?
Why don't you just make it up and call yourself a source?
No, I don't want to do that. There's too many of that stuff. There's too much of that stuff on the internet.
I have no knowledge of any buyout, but I mean, like if Mayock said, "Hey, this isn't what I signed up for," and wanted to quit, well, you'd be quitting, and you wouldn't be getting paid your contract. So Mike's making a living, and we'll see how things play out. But it just feels like I don't think John Gruden wanted Hard Knocks. Now I'm really speaking out on a limb. I don't think Gruden wanted Hard Knocks, and it's almost to me like now that Hard Knocks is over with, they're creating their own platform of Hard Knocks and showing them how it should be done.
Yeah, I don't get that either. The interesting thing though, Mort, despite all of that drama that we've all been reading about the foot and everything else, on those episodes of Hard Knocks, we didn't see a lot of that stuff because people want the juicy stuff. They want the dirt. But what I've seen of it, you didn't see a lot about the foot. You didn't see a lot about the helmet because it was just basically everyday stuff. It's not rehearsed television. It's just cameras following around guys in training camp, hoping to catch a moment or two of things. But guys don't normally air that kind of stuff, dirty laundry, when cameras are rolling around in privacy, do they?
No, and I don't know that, hey, NFL Films is right there near where you are. So, I mean, it would be interesting to know, like, and I probably should know this, but there's some details about Hard Knocks. I know the coach has some final say on episodes that are shown. It's not carte blanche. Like even Hugh Jackson had to approve that video when the Browns did it, when he was in the coach's room, acting like Caesar. So I don't know.
Chris Mortensen, Mike Mayock did not speak to reporters today on Friday. We'll find out whether he speaks to reporters on Sunday. And we still have Monday night, the last game of the weekend, of weekend number one, more to even get to the point where we're going to find out what the hell happens next.
But I don't know. I did reach out to Mike tonight as well, and he said he couldn't talk about it, which was, I understood. At least he answered, and that was it. So like I said, hey, listen, let's face it, we're at ESPN. I would imagine we're loving it as long as Antonio suits up and plays Monday night.
All right, I'll ask you for educated guess, Mort, because we're both guessing right now. Yeah, does Antonio Brown play on Monday Night Football?
I'm going to guess yes. What are you going to guess?
I think so, too. And you know who cares the most about that? The fantasy football players and the gamblers who keep changing the line in Las Vegas every 3 hours, not knowing what the heck's going to happen in the game.
Yeah, I'm going to tell a little secret. I'm probably not supposed to. I'll probably get fined for it. But, we have our own ESPN Fantasy League, the 16-team league. Rex Ryan is in it. And he's a big defender of Antonio Brown. And I'm not saying he drafted Antonio Brown in our fantasy draft Wednesday night, but he drafted Antonio Brown. And today he was being critical of Antonio Brown, said he's given up on him. But now that he's back playing Monday night, he's back in Rex Ryan's lineup for his game.
Well, that's what fantasy players do.
It makes everybody crazy. That's why I put out some stupid poll about, are you interested in this because you love football, fantasy, or are you just bored? I think bored was winning the poll. I haven't looked lately.
No, bored was watching that Bears-Packers game last night in Chicago.
That was the first official preseason game. You know that.
Exactly. Mort, it's great to talk to you again, my friend. I haven't talked to you in a long time, and I'm glad everything's going well. And best of luck to you, and stay healthy, my friend. And I'm so glad that you're a friend, and I'm so proud that you came on tonight and shared some information with us.
Tony, thanks for calling. Thanks for reaching out. I had a good time.
Thank you, Mort. There he is, the great Chris Mortensen, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put your hands together right now.